Welcome to the Full-Time Creator Podcast, where you'll get wisdom, tips, and inspiration from creators building their dream businesses. I'm your host, Zach Swinehart, and today I'm here with a Zach who's not me, Zach Spuckler from heartsoulhustle.com. He's an ethics-first digital marketer who does pretty much everything you could even do online, I think. He sells courses, runs a community. He even runs an agency, and apparently even ran an e-commerce business selling candles. So like literally everything you could even do on the internet. He helps course creators start and scale epic and ethical businesses. He's earned over $3.2 million from his digital products, and pretty much all of that came from paid traffic. He spent over $500,000 on paid traffic in his own business, getting roughly 2 to 3x return. I mean, of that 3.2 million, sounds like most of it came from paid. And I think, Zach, you said like 10 or 20% was organic or something. At his ads agency, he's managed over $3 million. He's served over 10,000 students, and he runs the Not Your Average Online Marketing podcast. He also has an epic Facebook and Instagram ads for list building bootcamp, which I personally bought, and I'm excited to go through. That he basically teaches his own strategy, where he is growing his list by about 1,000 emails a month for about $2 to $3 each, and getting a return on his ad spend within 30 to 60 days. And that's the adsbootcamp.com. So the plural ads and then singular bootcamp.com. So yeah, this long-winded intro is all to say I'm excited to chat with Zach, both about ethics in digital marketing, because I always want to talk to someone about this, and this is like pretty much my only opportunity. And then mostly about paid traffic. So Zach, welcome. Super excited to have you here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
So I'll dive in and say that for me, the reason I've been really excited to have you on is that I feel like I am pretty much surrounded by people who are firm believers in organic. And while I believe content is really important, and I would say it's like regular content production is probably the most important thing a creator could do regularly, which I'd be keen to hear your thought on this since you're coming from this paid perspective. It also makes me really uncomfortable that I'm supposed to just write some stuff and to hope that it'll work out. And it feels not really like a system or a business, you know. It kind of feels like you're just making some stuff and hoping, and the only things you really can control are your content output and your funnel metrics, but you can't actually control content volume. And to me, it feels scary to be dependent on organic because it can just, overnight go away. And I think, for a minute there, I was feeling like, okay, well, yeah, so we've got AI content coming to steal organic blog post traffic, but at least we've got video. But then just the other day, I learned you can train an AI avatar to do videos, and it's pretty freaking convincing. So no one is safe, but the robots cannot yet run ads for us, although I haven't looked, maybe they can. So anyway, all this is to say, I'm really excited about your paid process. So before I dive in and try to extract your kind of start to finish thing, I'm curious, of all that stuff I just said, what are your thoughts? Like, do you still believe in the value of consistent content production, or are you more about like creating a few strong pillar pieces and not really feeling like you need to put it out all the time, or what?
Yeah, it's really interesting because I am not a content creator at heart. I like creating paid content, but I really like selling content. I like marketing content. I like advertising content. And that does have an element of content creation and curation to it. And I think what you're saying is so poignant in the sense of like, when you're relying solely on organic, that is what you're doing. You're putting out content as frequently as you can, hoping that something picks up, right? And I think that a lot of us we're in an echo chamber, right? And we see what we say and we say what we see. And so when you are in like, building online courses, like feels like everybody's advertising their online course and you see them everywhere. When you're in podcasts, feels like you're getting a million ads to grow your podcast. Like we tend to see and mirror what we're digesting. So the more we consume, the more we create along those lines. And so I think that when you rely solely on organic content, you are kind of blurring yourself into that noise. Now, there's absolutely things that you can do to break out of that and study voice and copy and study different industries, which you touched on is one of the reasons I like to do stuff in different industries and kind of play the field, so to speak. But with content creation organically, you are fixed by two things: your ability to convert and your ability to create. And with advertising, you're only fixed by how much you're willing to spend and how much you expect to return. So I personally prefer advertising. I actually just went to a retreat with one of my coaches, and they were like, "Why aren't you doing organic content?" And I was like, "Because I hate it." And they were like, "Well, that's something you need to work on." And I was like, I agree fully. So organic is something we're bringing more into the fold. And I think sometimes, just as a little side piece, is like, we also think organic is like posting on Instagram, posting on Facebook, but organic could be affiliates. It could be word of mouth marketing. It could be connecting with people at a conference, right? So there's so much power to organic. And I do think organic is ultimately stronger conversionally than advertising. But advertising is the only 100% predictable measure, because I know if I give Facebook $1, I'm going to reach new people. If I give Facebook a post, I don't know if it's going to reach new people, but I know
Yeah.
if I spend that dollar, I can choose that. So I think there's pros and cons to both. I'm not like a paid ads evangelist. I think everybody should be running paid ads. If so, maybe I am. Um, but I think everybody should be advertising in addition to creating in a way that's in alignment with what feels good for them.
So I'll tell you my dream. I have this like guilty pleasure laugh I do if I'm like, all right, I'm gonna fucking eat pizza, even though I'm not supposed to. And telling you this makes me want to do that same laugh. My dream would be that I could create a few pieces of good content that are
Mhm.
comprehensive. And I know you do the mega post thing.
Yep.
And then I could run paid to those. And then like that's it. I have
Yeah.
ADHD and I notice I like to build the system once, like the comprehensive system, but I don't like feeling like I'm repeating myself. And that's kind of what bothers me about organic sometimes. It's like you have to create all these little answers to little questions, even though if someone just looked at the big answer, they would get that one answered. So in your eyes, is it viable for a creator to just create like a really good paid ecosystem, like their courses and stuff, a low
Mhm.
ticket offer? I know you do this, but just like, I don't know, let's say 10 pillar posts total for your
Yeah.
whole website. And that's it.
Yeah. I mean, conceptually, it's totally possible. And like, if you Google 5-day challenge, we rank number one. Um, that's how a lot of people find our stuff. And so you could art like, and I know I said earlier, like, this is counterintuitive to what I said. Cause I'm like, well, we do a lot of paid advertising. We retarget a lot of the traffic that comes to those pages to sell our products. So I consider it a mix of organic and paid. But like, we rank number one for 5-day challenge. We write really long form blog posts. One is like how to get 1,000 emails in 90 days or less. I think it's 5,000 words. And we get traffic to that all the time. It's also in our email sequence for new leads that go through our email, our ads. So again, ads, but organic. Like, I think that there's a happy medium, right? And so, you know, you could, right? You could ultimately build an ecosystem. What I also will say about that is there's two concepts that were introduced to me recently. And one is that you need to think about your marketing, that it's not a customer journey anymore, it's a customer selection process. And
Hmm.
the selection process is on the customer side. So, like, what we typically think of when we think of like customer avatar or customer journey is like, oh, Bob is going to opt into my free thing. And then he's going to see my tripwire and he's going to buy it. And then he's going to join my membership. And if he loves my membership, he's going to join my coaching. And if he loves my coaching, maybe he'll hire me one on one or move to the agency, right? Like, he's going to go through this path. The reality is, Bob is this ideal person that's not real.
Hmm.
And so the real Bob might come to my website and be like, I already know how to run Facebook ads. I just want to hire you. And if I'm making them go through this customer journey, then I'm forcing him to essentially disqualify himself for his best opportunity. So, how does that apply to what we're talking about? Well, here's the thing: if you want to build the ecosystem, build the ecosystem. I love it. But be mindful that you need to have multiple touch points throughout this ecosystem. So, you wouldn't have like 10 blog posts that are like, how to run your first Facebook ad. One might be how to hire an agency. One might be how to run a Facebook ad. One might be how to grow your email list with Facebook ads. One might be a paid product, but you have to have multiple touch points. The other concept that I mentioned that was introduced to me is like keeping people warm, right? And I guess I shouldn't say it was introduced. It's something that we started doing, and like, it's one of those things that you know. And we in our minds think, oh, I am keeping people warm by posting on Instagram every day. But we know that's not true, because we see people who have followed us 2 years ago that don't like anything. We see people that followed us 2 weeks ago that don't like anything. But if you advertise to those people, you force your content to the top of their news feed. whether it be a podcast, a blog post, something from this ecosystem, and you stay warm. So we call it the sphere of influence, is really what I think you're kind of hitting on, Zach, is, and we call it the sphere of influence. And so the sphere of influence is essentially like, if you imagine a wheel or a sphere, you got social media, you got advertising, you got email list, and you've got oh no, I'm going to space on the last one, which is horrible because I literally talk about this all the time. We'll come back to it. But you got all these elements that kind of play together. And so your email list grows when you run ads. Your social media grows when you run ads. Your engagement grows when you run ads. And all of these things kind of build this sphere of influence. Some people call it a web or refer to it as being sticky on the internet. We just call it the sphere of influence. And so the more you add to that, the more you create organic content, the more you advertise, the more you grow the email list, the more you post on social media, and maybe that's all four, it starts to spin faster and expand outwards, right? And inside that sphere is all people that are paying attention to you, all people that you can target with advertising, all people that you can make offers to. And so it is 100% conceptually possible to just grow that sphere all the time. My belief is that pepper that in or salt that in or whatever your seasoning of choice is, throw in some organic content or throw in some organic marketing, right? So like we're doing a big promotion for our Facebook ads bootcamp. We do it live a few times a year. And we were like, hey, we don't want to spend a ton on ads this time around. Various reasons, happy to divulge more. But we were like, what if we relied more heavily on the leads that we've already generated and the relationships we've built through advertising? And so we're relying on affiliates. We have and all the leads that we generated. We have about 30 to 40% of people joining our challenge are coming through affiliates. And so we're just like, we can lean into that in addition to building the sphere. But now all the people that these affiliates have brought in go on the email list, see us posting on social media, get retargeted with advertising, and go back into that sphere. So the way that I think about it is you can absolutely build this sphere fully automated with advertising, with pillar posts, with all this content. But you can also kind of like, if you imagine as like almost like a fire, kind of a living fire, you can also do things intentionally between to organically throw fuel on it, right? So I struggle with impulse control, and I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I've been told I have tendencies. So that's maybe something to explore. But for people with ADHD, like you mentioned, just because you brought this up, Zach, is like a lot of us chase dopamine. A lot of
Yeah.
people with that tend to chase dopamine. And so there is this thrill and excitement in like building it. But what I tell people is, for a lot of people who find the thrill in like building it once and never touching it again, you will find that same boredom in running the system, right? So what we do in our business is we find ways to keep it novel and exciting. And for us, that is the live boot camps, that's connecting with people, that's building relationships, that's doing podcasts like this, things that break up the monotony. And this just feels relevant. One of the best pieces of advice that was given to me was by a mentor of mine. They said, I was like, I want to do this. I want to do that. I have this idea and that idea, and I could just do this, or I could just do that. And they were like, Zach, your business isn't here to entertain you. Your business is here to generate revenue, to build your lifestyle, and to impact the people you care about. And if you believe that, it's not about what gets you really revved up every single day. It's about running a profitable, successful, sustainable business. And so that's just a little aside that I like to share with people, because a lot of us do this. We love the building phase. Ideation and building is the exciting phase. And you can absolutely automate that. So two sides to the same coin, but your very short question with a very long answer: could you, in theory, build a few filler posts, automate advertising, automate your funnels? Absolutely. And I know people that do it.
And how many pillar posts do you have on your site, if you were to just guess? How many
Probably
total?
about 10. My goal was to
So not
write
a
one
lot.
every quarter, but interestingly enough, I get bored. And it takes about 8 to 10 hours to like really write a long form blog post. And then I have an editor, and then we turn it into a podcast. Like, it's a big production process, which we should really get back to. But absolutely, we have multiple pieces of content on our website that are pillar posts, probably about 10 if I had to guess.
And if you were to guess just how many blog posts in general you have, what would that be?
Probably, we turn all of our podcasts into a blog post. So if you count those, probably about 220 some. Um, if you don't count those, then like 10.
Cool. Well, that is a, like, how long has Heart Soul Hustle been around as a website? Or how long have you been
Heartsoulhustle.com has been around
publishing on
for
it?
8 years.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, the fact that you could have an online brand that is like, it only has ten real posts. I mean, podcasts, is it just the transcript, or do you actually like write a blog post
We
around
go
it?
back and forth. I would say maybe 20% of them have a blog, and then 40% of them have just a full transcript with a little
Okay.
about section for SEO with headlines.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's really cool. And I think the thing about organic content is everyone thinks about it free because it only costs their time, in air quotes. For the audio only, I'm putting air quotes.
Yep.
But, for me, I really enjoy video. I really enjoy podcasting. What I enjoy the most about content creation is the initial planning and outlining. And
Yeah.
the reason that I enjoy video production is because I can just create my outline, pull up the camera, say the stuff, and then my team can finish it. Whereas whenever I like write a blog post, if it's me, that's like 4 hours or something.
Yeah.
And so I've been looking into hiring, like paying a writer to turn my video into a post. And suddenly it's not free anymore to be a blogger. Suddenly each blog post costs
Costs
a few
money.
$100s because I'm not happy with ChatGPT and stuff. So when you look at things that way, content marketing isn't free. And if you hire an SEO agency, like that's not free. None of these things are free other than throwing spaghetti at the wall yourself and not spending that time growing your business, creating courses, honing funnels and stuff. So I think that this is very cool that you could have just a handful of really strong pillar posts and that from a like organic quote, quote perspective, that was enough. Something I thought was cool that you did, I heard it from your podcast, the Not Your Average Online Marketing podcast, right? Did I say that right?
Yep. You got it.
I liked that episode where you talked about how you retarget people to your organic stuff. You send them to social posts, you send them to podcasts.
Mhm.
How do you decide what to send them to? And for your podcast, for example, are you linking them to the show notes on your website? Are you linking to
Yeah.
like iTunes? Like, what do you do for that?
Great question. I tell people point blank, I am like a really lazy marketer. I want it quick, simple, easy. I love to show up for my clients. I love to show up for my membership. I love to coach. I love to be present. But when it's my stuff, I just want it, whatever gets it done, whatever gets the job done, just put it out there. Because what I tell my students all the time is that if you hit the publish button, whether it be on a funnel or an opt-in, like, and not just like throwing random content on Facebook, anyone can do that. I'm talking about like literally publishing something. It's not a jab at social media, but like you're in the top 20%. Like you're already a creator. 80% of people are consumers, right? So when you create that blog post, that content, that Facebook ad, you are in the top 20%. Most people don't realize that that is where the magic is. And so in terms of like selecting it, it's like what's accessible, what's easy, what's going to get done is my personal mantra. And that's what I tell my students. My agency clients, I'm a little more intentional because they want to see a quick return. I will play the long game and wait 90, 180 a year to see a great return on a lead. I'll nurture a relationship forever. People who pay you, they want those relationships to convert. But for me personally, that's what I tell people is like, just put something up, right? You're like, well, what's the perfect graphic? And I think this will really speak to this. We had a client who I worked with her for 3 weeks in our coaching program. And every week she would come to the call and she would say, "We think of this picture for a Facebook ad." And I'd say, "I don't know, you should test it." And so finally I scheduled a call with her and I was like, "We're just going to choose one and we're going to run it as an ad." And we sat together for 30 minutes. We set up the Facebook ad. We got it running. And wouldn't you know it, $1.50 leads. Because the reality is, not that she had bad photos or any of them weren't good. Like we did do a selection process. I'm not going to sit here and be like, anything converts. But most of the time, something converts better than nothing. And so we're like, just try it. Just put it out there because everything you do gives you data. And so if you publish a post and you're like, this is going bonkers, people love this, people are downloading the podcast, people are engaging, awesome, do more of that. If you're like, nobody engaged with this, nobody likes this topic, this image isn't working, great, do less of that. So it's like everybody, especially with advertising, they want to know like, what's the standard? What's the right way? What's the best way? And it's like, there is no best way. The best way is to do it. That puts you in the top 20%. Evaluate. That puts you in the top 10%. Ideate and, I lost my word. Ideate and
Iterate?
innovate. Yeah. Iterate and innovate. And that's going to put you in that top percentage of creators who are doing this full time, making a living. Right. And I say that from an ads perspective, but it could be the same with a blog. It could be the same with a podcast. It could be the same with your it could be the same with your Facebook post if you're being intentional. LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. It doesn't matter the medium, right? I'm talking about like We've all seen the person who writes the Facebook story post. They work, they're great, love them. It's not a marketing, it's not a business, it's just a posting strategy. But when I'm talking about like really getting into the bones of your business and like publishing something, that is the best thing you can do. So there's no right piece of content, there's no right blog post to run. There's only to run it and to collect the data and make decisions from there.
That makes sense. But just to clarify, just specifically so that I know
Yeah, yeah.
what you do, because I want to do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you
Sorry.
retarget someone, if you send them to your podcast episode, for example,
Show
would I
notes.
literally link to like the ftcreator.com/episode blank,
Yep.
or would
I
I?
link to the website because they can listen to it there. It will track the download logistically through my podcast player, and they can click on our website over to their preferred podcast player. And I get the website traffic, which helps SEO, and I can retarget the Facebook ad traffic. So I want the biggest benefit is sending them to my website.
And when you send them to social posts, you would send them to whatever platform. So like if they're on Instagram and you're retargeting that, where you only go to some Instagram post,
Yep.
Facebook to some Facebook
Yeah,
post.
sometimes when I do Instagram, I'll send them to my profile. That way, if they click like learn more, it's like, oh, who is this guy? You know, my Instagram's kind of a trash dumpster fire right now, but when it's not, I will do that.
Cool. And when you're doing this, you would, I know I appreciate something is better than nothing, but like if you're
Sure.
choosing what social post to send people to, do you just come through and say like what had good engagement? Let's just throw this one at them, or you just
What
kind of
had good
randomly pick one?
engagement and what communicates who I am, what I do, and why they should
Mm,
care. So we
nice.
call them stance posts in our membership. We say like you should have, like take a stance on something. It doesn't have to be polarizing. Like everybody's into like it's not as bad now, but like 2 years ago, everybody'd be like, be polarizing. That's the way to get attention. Like say something people will really get riled up about. And it still works. Like you ever watch anything on the news, you know this works. But
Yeah.
um we say take a stance on something. So like for us, we'll be like, if you're not running ads to grow your email list every day, you're literally losing money. That'd be a really strong post to run traffic to because it's going to immediately attract the people who are like, okay, I want to learn more. I should be running ads, or they have that kind of preconceived notion of running ads. And it's going to repel people who are like, I'm not interested in ads. Ads are not for me. I don't agree. It's
Yeah.
harder to convert the people who don't believe in your message and your foundations than it is to um, just get somebody who's like half bought in, right? So
Yeah.
my job as a marketer isn't, and it can be, right? If you want to get as you grow in size and sophistication of the market, but I'm generally not going someone after who's like, what is a Facebook ad, right? Like I've never heard of this before. That's not my target market. My target market is someone who's like, organic sucks. I know I should be advertising. And maybe they don't even think it sucks. They're just like, there's a limit, right? Like I can only do so much. Like what you said, Zach, like I know that I can only create so much content and I still want to grow. That's my target market. And so if I speak to those things and those pain points, it's much easier to attract somebody in.
Yeah. And I imagine probably some important aspect of when you're picking what stances you're going to take. Like in your case, saying if you're not spending money on ads, you're wasting your time, or whatever that stance would have been.
Yeah,
It very conveniently flows into your whole product ecosystem and
absolutely.
stuff. Versus
Absolutely.
like, I think COVID is fake. That wouldn't be super relevant for
Probably
for
not the way to go. You
Facebook
get
ads.
followers, but you won't get sales.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about your paid strategy. Although
Sure.
I want to get the hot take because I want to talk about the ethic thing. Here's the hot take. I've been saving it for weeks to ask
Yeah.
Zach Spuckler. So, is there such a thing as an ethical evergreen deadline funnel discount?
Yes. Yes. Um, Here's what I think. I think that ethics are in and of itself, they're a gray area, right? There's like a reason you take an ethics class in college or not psychology, philosophy class, right? It's like there's ebbs and flows and there's beliefs and there's gray areas. This is what I tell people. If it feels out of alignment and you're doing it because it's icky and it's not true or untrue or you're making things up, that to me is out of alignment and quote unquote unethical. I have no marketing degree in ethics. I have no degree in ethics. I have no moral high ground over, people who are doing this. But what I say is like, look, if you say in your funnel, you can't buy this tomorrow and I can, that's tacky, right? Like I think of like, I use all the time, the School of Rock, which is like a really great movie, by the way. There's the little kid in there. His name is Brian. I follow him on Instagram now because he's hilarious. Um, but he's like, you're tacky and I hate you. Like that's, if
Yeah.
your marketing is giving me you're tacky and I hate you vibes, like that's bad. That's not good. Will it work? Will it convert? Maybe. But I say like, at what cost, right? Like if I'm trying to convert somebody and I'm luring them in under false pretenses and I'm perpetuating those things, I don't want to do that. But if you're using software where it's like, hey, if this person joins and they can't join, and after 15 minutes, the price is going to go up, and it's based on their IP and their email, and I'm doing everything in my power to basically enforce this strategy that I put in play, great. That's totally fine. No one questions Target when they have a sale that ends on Sunday, but the sale does end on Sunday,
Yeah.
right? There are tools and softwares, and there's always going to be, and I don't think there's anything wrong with them. For me personally, I don't use a lot of evergreen timers or deadlines. My thing is like, if you want my help, you'll take it, right? And could I maybe squeeze out an extra 0.5% or 1% conversion on stuff by putting a timer on it? Probably. Um, but do I also feel like people who join under scarcity, urgency, and pressure are more likely to cancel, are more likely to feel regret, are more likely to not be confident in the decision they made, have the decision fatigue or the decision hangover after they do it? For sure. I mean, there's a
Mm.
reason you see higher refund rates in the first 30 days. It's not just because most people have a 30-day policy. It's because people go, oh, I don't know if I should have done that. And I don't
Let's
want
dig
that
it.
feeling.
Let's dig into that then, because
Yeah.
I think the asterisk to what you're saying is like, sure, you don't do that, but it's because your business is built around like a live launch model. Whereas if someone
Yeah.
were to say, I don't want to do that, I want
Yeah.
evergreen launches, they might be inclined. But I'm curious, since you run the, gosh, let me find the right URL. I think it's theadsbootcamp.com. That's what
Yep.
the URL was. Yeah. So
Yep. Yep.
since you run theadsbootcamp.com, both evergreen and like with live
Mhm.
cohort, have you noticed, like, I don't know if you have data, but is there a difference in refund rate between the two, satisfaction, stuff like that?
Yeah. Our refund rate on the boot camp is incredibly low. The refund rate, I think it's around 1% to 2%. And it's typically people who go, I thought this would work for e-commerce. It's not for
Mm.
me. Or I bought it and I'm not willing to spend that much money. I don't. I don't manage customer service, but I feel pretty confident saying less than 0.5%, if not more, are people saying, I didn't like it. I wasn't satisfied. This was a bad investment, if any. Um, but the refund rate, like our thing is like, even with refunds, we have people join our membership all the time, especially through the launches, because we do have scarcity built into our launches. Our membership is open 24/7. So if you go to our membership website, you can join right now. You can join tomorrow, you can join Friday, doesn't matter. It's always joinable. When we do our launches, we offer limited time bonuses. And we literally send out an email that's like, hey, we've got these bonuses. It's absolutely to incentivize you. But if now's not the right time, cool. You can join tomorrow. You can join in 2 weeks. If you need 2 months to implement what you just learned in our boot camp, wait 2 months. And I think for us, that creates a real relationship with people. Ironically, I tell people sometimes I actually feel bad sending that email because it's our highest converting email. So it almost feels like two-faced to be like, you don't have to join, but I know you're going to, right? But the reality is people just want to know, in 99% of the time, they want to feel seen, feel heard, and feel acknowledged. And if you just say, hey, if it's not right for you, that's totally cool. Like most marketers aren't willing to do that because they think or hear things like, if you believe in your product, it's your job to convert them. Like, no, if I believe in my product, it's my job to hold the space for the right person. And it's their job to make a decision with all the information, with all of the content, with everything that I've given them to say, yes, this is worth my dollar. No, it's not worth my dollar. And that's a personal decision that I don't want to manipulate or force someone into feeling a certain way using strategies that don't feel good to me. Again, like I said at the beginning, it's down to what feels good for you. If you're like, hey, I don't feel that way at all. I don't care if somebody comes to my evergreen funnel and it says it's live when it's not because people are stupid and I don't care. That's totally your prerogative, right? And I'm not even saying that automated webinars are like bad. We've done automated webinars. It's the way we do them. So like when we do automated webinars, we say, this is a recording. You have 48 hours to watch it, and then we're going to make an offer. Um, that's it, right? I think it's just about honesty, transparency, and empowering somebody to make a decision that's great for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And for the listener, for your context, I think I got a launch email from Zach the other day that has a subject line of like, it's not gonna go away forever, or something,
Yeah,
like something you had some, what
yeah,
was
yeah,
that
yeah.
subject line?
That's one of our best performers.
Yeah. So you can like
This is
roll it into the
not your
brand and
last
lean into it.
chance.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Hmm.
I loved that. I was like, ah, cheeky. because it accomplishes it reminds you that it's your last chance, but
Right.
it's still, you deliver it that, it's your last chance to get these bonuses, but it's not like it's your actual last chance.
Right. But you can
Did
still
what's right for
join,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I feel like I've got all these branches that I want to dig into for 6 hours. Um, so one thing I wanted to, oh, well, before we move on, just to check, I was wondering what the difference was in like refund rates and engagement and stuff for your evergreen versus your launch offers. Do you
It's
have?
about the same.
It is okay.
Yeah. We get a slightly higher refund rate on the membership from our launch. And that's typically because people buy it out of excitement and then go like, ah, no, I didn't want this. Exactly what I'm talking about. So we're still working on refining that. But our refund rate for our membership is very, very low. It's on paper, it's actually relatively high because this isn't a great thing to advertise. If somebody forgets to cancel, we just refund them.
Hmm.
And our thing is like, it comes back to what feels good. Like, I know that feeling personally. Like, we all know it. You open your credit card statement, you're like, I meant to cancel that thing on Monday and it just charged me on Tuesday and today's Wednesday. Like, I just give you your money back. Right. Because me holding that $49 holds the relationship hostage as opposed to makes me $49. And it's not
Yeah.
worth it to me. I'd rather have somebody leave on a good foot. So we actually have a relatively on paper higher refund rate. And when I say high, I'm talking like 7%, which is arbitrary to high numbers. But most people say like, this is great. I love it. But we have a slightly higher refund on the first month of the evergreen.
And do you know your churn month by month from the join date for the membership?
Yeah, our churn rate is actually down last month to 7.5%, which is like huge for us. We started at 24%. And that's because we did a big influx. There was no content. And then we dropped immediately down to 14. And we've been struggling to get under 10, but the last, I want to say 3 months. And I'll actually pull it up. If you're watching on video, my face is going to flash bright white. But from June, we had a 10.6 and we've been under 10% ever since, 8.5, 9, 7. So we've been working to refine that. It's always a little higher after a launch month because people come out of curiosity and excitement. But yeah, we're trying to get it down under 5 is our goal. And so we've been doing
Nice.
a lot of stuff to bring the churn rate down.
And do you keep track of your churn? Like I try to keep track, like what's the month one churn for a new member? What's the month two? What's the month three? Do you keep
I
track of that?
don't, we just track month to month churn. I'm sure the data's in there because shout out to my team. They have made this beautiful spreadsheet that half the time I can't read. I just ask them what the numbers mean. But it's like 18 tabs long and it's like month to date churn, year to date churn, yearly revenue, monthly revenue, daily refunds, daily everything. So every day they go in and they enter who joined from the day before, who joined, who canceled, who renewed, who errored out, who fail paid, and then they have all these tracking systems in place,
Very cool.
which I have to give them credit for. I don't. That's not me.
All right. Well then, very cool to Zach's team.
Yes, Zach's team is the real MVP.
So let's now, after much ado, talk about the ad strategy. So I haven't dug into the bootcamp yet, and this is actually a nice tie-in with the
Yeah,
thing because you talk about like, doing something is more than doing nothing. And one of the things I want to ask you about is like, what are the prerequisites? So let's just dive into that. So let's say somebody's listening who's a new content creator, and I'm
yep,
thinking like, I'm starting a new agency, and I'm wanting to take your course and use the strategies both with my content course business, but also use them for promoting like content and funnels for my agency.
sure.
The idea being that the funnel teaches you the concepts, or you could just pay me to do them for you so you don't have to do them yourself. That's the hook.
Yep,
So what I'm wondering is if someone's starting something new, what would you consider as the kind of prerequisites to do this? From things like number one, paid offer, and I guess I'll rattle things off. So let's start from the top. Does somebody need to have a lead magnet? I would assume yes.
yep.
Does somebody need to have at least one pillar post? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. So number one, have a freebie. Like to grow your list, you need a freebie. As far as anything else, I tell people you don't really need anything else.
Mm. So someone could
So
launch with just an opt-in page,
absolutely,
no
because
blog, nothing.
yeah, because what most people do, you technically need a website because you need a privacy policy for the type of ads that we run. So you want to have a privacy policy, but like you don't need a fully fleshed out website. If you have a homepage that says like more information coming soon and a privacy policy, That's enough. Where most people get caught up, and I know this is something we talked about before we started recording, is they're looking for that instant win. And they're like, I'm going to add 300 people to my email list and I better convert 3% in the first 2 weeks at this price point for this through my automated webinar funnel and this, that, and the other. And I say simplicity sells, right? If you grow your list to 200 people and you send an email that says, I have 3 spots open for Facebook ads, you will get responses. Like, keep it simple. Do a sales call, book them through a PayPal invoice. Like, everybody wants to build the machine, but they forget that they have to learn how an engine works, right? So if you have vast amounts of experience, build it all, right? And the pushback is always like, well, if I'm spending money on ads, I need to be making money. And I say, absolutely. And that's the cost of doing business, right? Like, if you were to start a business 25 years ago, you would go get a loan, go buy a storefront, and like, it costs time and money to grow a business. So like, yes, the barrier to entry is lower. Yes, the internet. Yes, yes, yes. And it still takes money to make money, in my opinion. You can rely on organic strategies for sure, and it'll take you so far, but you're going to hit that ceiling of time, like you said, time, production, content. And so I think all you need is a freebie and a list builder, and then the ability to communicate with those people. Because what business, in my opinion, really boils down to is connection, relationship, and trust, right? So if I talk to those people every week for 6 weeks and I say, I hope you like me, I hope you trust me, here's a great offer, come check it out, it'll convert. It will. And that's what it comes down to, is like, yes, you can have an offer. Yes, you can have a blog post. Yes, you can have a podcast, and all of those things will grow as a byproduct. But if you're trying to figure out how to put the cart before the horse, you can't, in my opinion. Or can I put the cart, like, would I do something to inadvertently do that? As long as you've got a way to build the list and you actively communicate with those people, you're gold. Now, if you wait 90 days to make an offer, you won't make money for 90 days. And it's just something to be aware of. It's not a good or a bad. I have a friend who likes to say, like, situations are just situations. We assign meaning to them, right? And especially in the online business world, we see like the flashy, sexy 10K in 30 days. I made $1 billion in 7 months. And the reality is, like, if you were in a retail business, you would be in the red the first year and you would be considered pacing correctly. If you were a startup, you'd lose money and you'd be seeking venture capital to sustain a business that operates at a loss for 1 to 3 years, right? But then we create meaning that because it's the internet, because we're different, because we're high profit, because we're high ticket, it's different for me. Oh, I'm different. I'm the exception. And I once had a friend tell me, I was like, no, this is different. This is different. And they were like, you're not that special. Like, don't take it personally. It's just most of us are, we started using it in our marketing, call it special snowflake syndrome. Like, everyone's like, this is great and I'm different. Let me make an argument for why this is different for me. And it's like, all of this to say, run the lead magnet, grow the list. Don't try and think like, what does the machine need to look like? How do I fuel it? What's the automated webinar? When it's like, and again, if you, like, I said this in very casual passing, but I want to just reiterate this. If you've done this before and you've built the machine in the past and you're building it from the ground up fast, great. What most people do is they ideate on every piece of the machine and they go, oh, I can't drive the car until the chassis is perfect, until the interiors are great, until the hood is the right color, until the headlights work. And they forgot to check if the engine turns on, right? That's what I'm getting at. Is like, you've gotta run the ads. Worst case, you spend $300 and you don't make a ton of money back. Great. And like we talked about earlier, look at all the good data you get from that.
Yeah. Yeah, this is sick. For people on audio only, my neck is hurting because I've been like nodding rhythmically for like 5 minutes. So I love this. I want to dig in.
Yeah.
So what I want to work toward today with you, I want to build like the MVP shitty rust bucket car, but it's, everyone who sits in it, even though it doesn't look beautiful, like they still, if you listed the shitty rust bucket ride on Uber and it wasn't as expensive as an Uber Black, and all they needed was to get to where they needed to go, they still got there, even if it didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't Ferrari. So I want to map that out with you. But first,
super simple.
I want to dive into this, like, this learn how to build an engine thing. I had a reframe recently. So I've spent money on ads in the past in a lot of contexts. I've done the classic freelancer thing. years ago, where you just like dump money on ads, send people to your portfolio, and it is expensive AF to get a
Yep.
client.
Call it
I
out.
have run paid ads for marketing my EDM music, market my playlist, grow that way. I haven't yet run it for my content business. I haven't yet run ads for this new agency. But something that I recently heard, I think it was in Alex Hormozy's $100 Million Leads book.
Great
I
book.
liked the reframe. He said, like, think of this initial money you spend on ads as like your tuition to learn how ads work. Don't try to get
Mhm.
that ROI. And you're mirroring that too. So
Yeah.
I would ask, if we look at what is the tuition to the learn how to do ads school, both in terms of money and time, money going into like Zach's bootcamp, money going into your initial month or whatever you think of ads, and then time in terms of consuming that Zach's bootcamp, configuring my initial ads, doing some initial testing, that kind of thing. Like, and then also time in terms
Yeah.
of months. So these are the
Sure.
three variables. What would you say the tuition costs?
Sure. So variable one, time commitment, you're going to have to spend 20 to 40 hours minimum to get proficient. Like that's just the nature of the beast. I'm not saying you need to sit down for 20 hours. We get people relatively proficient in our boot camp in about 5 days. But proficiency to me is I don't need to pause, play, fast forward, rewind a video to set it up, right? That's going to take you about 20 to 40 hours. Um, we call it the rule of threes in advertising. The first time you set up ads, you're like, what the heck? This is a foreign language. I have no idea what's going on. I'm clicking the buttons. I'm so afraid. I don't know what's happening. Second time you're going to set it up, it's going to take 2 to 4 hours and you're going to be like, okay, starting to see the picture. And the third time, it's still going to take 2 hours, but you're going to go, okay, this is a process, right? Maybe I don't understand it fluently and thoroughly, but it's like a language. I can ask where the bathroom is in Spanish, right? It's that kind of thing. The second piece is like financial commitment. So like if you take the boot camp or you take a course, you've got your flat fee of taking training. Take a training. If you listen to this and you're like, this guy sucks, I don't agree, don't take my ads boot camp. Totally chill with me. Go learn from someone. Whether it's YouTube and Google University, whether it's a course that you buy, whether it's someone you hire to work with you for 4 hours, like learn from someone because ads are like one of the few things in our space where your time invested is not just time, it's money. So you can light $100 on fire in 25 minutes. It's not to scare you. It's just, and it's not like that. It's not as easy as being like, oh, I accidentally clicked this button and now I'm spending $1,000. But I've seen people go, I've spent $500 trying to figure it out. And now I've come to you and I'm like, we could have saved you $500
Yeah.
or at least put the $500 towards your tuition. Because if you don't know what you're doing and you spend the money, you're lighting it on fire. You might get lucky, you might get results, but if you have no idea what's going on in there, it's a waste of money. And even if it's not a waste of money and you don't know what to do with the data, it's a waste of money. So second element is like you need that so you have the time commitment, financial commitment, invest in a training, and then be ready to spend $500, $2,000 just learning, just playing, just dabbling.
500
to
to 2,000 or
2,000.
500 to 1,000?
500 to 2,000.
Okay.
Some people get it really quick and they crush it and they know their message and their market. Great. Some people need a little more time and energy to like find that message, find the market, find what works. And then in terms of like long-term time commitment, give it 90 to 180 days. It doesn't mean you need to spend money on ads for 6 months at $300 a month, which would actually put you right around $2,000 if you're doing the math. But give yourself time, right, to convert these leads, to find your message. Because what most people do, this is not a judgment, this is just an observation, and I hear it all the time. I've got a great product and nobody knows about it. I've got a killer offer and no one's buying. And it's generally an audience traffic and conversion problem, right? And they're like, this is going to be killer. And they put the offer out there and it's crickets. They're like, but it's such a good offer. And to that, I say either you're not putting it in front of the right people or it's not really a good offer. It's no judgment. It's just people don't want to pay the money for what you have to offer. And so if it's the former problem, crickets, great. We're building the list to solve that problem. If it's you built the list and no one's buying it, now it's a messaging offer refinement problem and you want time to solve that. You don't want to be in a position going, if I don't sell 30 copies of this course on this next webinar, I'm going to have to go get that job and quit the business because I went all in on this. Like, I'm a firm believer that it's okay to have a job when you start. I had a job when I started. I built up a small savings. I invested a lot of it into education, advertising, and time. I think that's fine. But to just say like it has to work, That's going to put you more in like the 1 to 2 month range, and it's not going to be enough time. So super quick recap, 20 to 40 hours. If I was pressed up against a wall and we're like, how long is it going to take? 20 to 40 hours of education and time. Cost wise, you want to give it, cost of an education, whether it's a $25 bootcamp or a $2,000 course. It's what resonates best with you and makes you feel most comfortable. Even starting with Google and YouTube is okay. But you got that time and financial commitment, and then $500 to $2,000 on the ads, and then give it 3 to 6 months to really start to see what's happening.
Cool. And something that I know what you're going to say, but I have to ask because I want it to be heard.
Sure.
So Jordan, previous guest, talked about how he kind of sees like coaching as like the MVP for a course. And for me, like in the dev space, spending a lot of years going, quote, product first, I am such a firm believer in audience first. After spending hundreds of hours building a SaaS that like 2 people max use, So
Yeah.
this is the thing I believe I know what you're going to say. But Zach Spuckler, not myself. Zach, do you think that I need to have my course made before I should start, or should I build my list and like maybe get some initial coaching clients and turn that into a course? What should I do?
Yeah. So this is like maybe a controversial answer. I don't think you need to coach to start a course if you've got the education and the experience. If you don't have the education and the experience, and I'm not talking like MBA or PhD. I'm just saying like life experience, life education, helped other people. Go right for the course. That's totally fine. Start with the audience. If you build it, they will not come, and that's because it's saturated. You said it earlier. AI is making content, video content, written content, social media is loud, Instagram is loud, Facebook is loud, TikTok, as much as I enjoy it, is very loud, right? If you're trying to break through that noise with a product instead of a community, that's going to be hard. If you lead with building that audience first, you can sell whatever you want. If you build up an audience of like 10,000 people that love penguins, it's going to be easier to sell the penguin plushie. Build an audience of 10,000 people that, love learning about finances. It's going to be easier to sell the budget SaaS, right? Like it's all about figuring out what do people want? Because what most people lead with is, here's what I know, here's what I'm good at, here's how I can help you. And what most people want is, here's what they're struggling with, here's what their problem is, here's what they want. That's what you lead with. And so oftentimes we base what we sell on our experience, our knowledge, our understanding, instead of mirroring the knowledge, experience, and understanding of the people we want to serve. And so I know that's a really long answer to a very short question again, but it's like, lead with the audience because they'll tell you what they want. You can even send out an email that's like, where are you stuck? What do you want? What would you buy? Like you could even be so audacious as to be like, if you were to spend $50 on, your health right now, what would you buy? Ask people, have conversations, get on the phone with them, offer them a free consultation. So yeah, audience first all the way for me.
Awesome. So let's map out what I think based on the timelines you gave would be interesting. And you probably have a formalized way of teaching this. So tell me if this is not what you would recommend. But let's say we were to map out kind of the start to finish flow, like the MVP approach to like, let's say a 3-month. Originally, I was going to attach a timeline.
No, that's
so
okay.
Think of
We
how
have
I
a
want to word
90-day
it.
plan.
Yeah. But what I'm wondering is like, what's the MVP funnel? So let's say I know that I want to help people with blank. I don't have a course yet, but I have an idea for a course and I want to start building my audience. And so I'm going to do what Zach said. I put up a landing page and I plan to email my peeps and I plan to make an offer eventually. What do you reckon? So let's say just today, I throw up a landing page, take your course, start running ads to it. What email frequency should I aim for? And how many touch points should I have before I make an offer?
Yeah, really good question. So we actually in our membership have, we call it the 90-day onboarding plan. Really inventive, I know. We call it your first 90 days. Run the ads, spend 30 days, learn them. Okay. Email weekly to all the new leads. Step 2, set up a 5 to 7 email sequence to everybody who joins your list, promoting free content, whether that be your blog, your podcast, or if you're like, I don't have that, just put the content in the email. Write a mini blog post, put it in the email. Last 30 days, 60 through 90, develop a low ticket product, put it into that funnel, sell it to all the people. Now you're selling it on autopilot all the time. You're emailing your list weekly. And we use, it's actually an invention of Dean Jackson called the super signature, which is we sign off all our emails that are content based. That is like, here are 3 ways to work with me. Join my Facebook group, which we don't have anymore, but just as an example, join my Facebook group, buy my bootcamp, join my membership. And every email has those calls to actions. So I can promote or I can put the content in there. So the 3-month flow is basically month 1, run ads, month 2, set up an email funnel, month 3, create a low ticket product, insert it in the funnel, validate everything through a small launch of the low ticket product, and then let the funnel run itself and continue to sell your products.
Love it. So in this 90 days, so you said 20 to 40 hours to become proficient in ads, but presumably that doesn't also include the time to be actively running and tweaking ads, or does it? Like in this 90-day plan? Okay, so basically my 90-day plan is like maybe 20 hours the first month, 10 hours the next month, 10 hours the next month. Is that kind of how it look?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably say 20 hours, to be really honest, 20 hours a month, each month. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I know that it's glamorous to be like, you could do it in 10 hours a month or less, but it's like, really just give it the time. You know, everybody's running a race when the reality is life's a marathon. It's like, just slow down, take your time. You'll get there.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I love this. This is exactly, at least for me, what I was looking for, like some expectation to know what to budget in terms of time and money. So it's essentially like, okay, I need to budget 5 hours a week. So it's like an hour a day.
Yep.
I need to budget 5 hours a week and then just set aside $2,000. And this is my budget. And by the time we're in October now. Yeah. So by the time it's like January, I will understand ads and probably have figured out a way to actually earn money.
Yep.
That's a pretty no-brainer trade.
Yeah.
So a question I have for you, I know that you run paid traffic sometimes to like the mega post and other times to a lead magnet.
Mm-hmm.
What's your, what dictates what you think is best?
Yeah. We try to do, let me make sure I get the math right. An 80-10 on every $15. Let's do it this way. I spend about $10 on lead gen. So 66%. I spend about $3 on engagement, whether that be blog post, traffic, podcast. And then I spend about $2 on a paid product. So I'm spending about 15 on every $15, right? You can scale that up, you can scale that back, but I'm putting a majority of my money into growing the list, a small percentage into keeping people engaged, and a smaller percentage into driving people who have looked at a product back to a product.
So the lead gen part though, so I guess maybe I misunderstood. I had thought the mega posts, it sounds like maybe the mega posts are for re-engagement. I had thought the mega posts were for lead gen. And that okay. So I assume the reason is that the CPM is lower for mega posts than for like an opt-in page.
Yeah.
So of that 80% you put on lead gen, what percentage of that 80% do you run direct to an opt-in page versus to a mega post that will hopefully sign up into the lead magnet?
So sorry, just to clarify, the $10 is purely opt-in traffic. The $3 is the mega post. And the $2 is a product, right? So the $3 I'm driving to the mega post because I'm gonna drive people who are already in my ecosystem to the mega post to get likes, comments, shares, engagement. But I'm also gonna drive cold traffic there because if they don't opt in, and this is kind of a little more advanced, but I'm happy to explain, they're gonna end up back in the audiences that are getting the ads for the opt-in. So I'm using it as like a traffic retargeting strategy as well.
And presumably like something that I think you shared, and I think you said you got the idea from someone else. But for those of you guys listening, Zach, you can tell me what episode number it was. But basically Zach had this like crazy advanced strategy where he like does some shenanigans to get his ad in front of like a bajillion people without them actually converting or whatever. Yeah. What is that whole thing?
It's from my friend Josh Coffey. I've got to look up the episode number to make sure that I give it to you correctly, but it's called he called it a CPM crusher campaign. We actually, after teaching it, sharing it on our podcast and with our members for like 2 months, they were like, that's actually not how Josh sets it up. So we set it up slightly differently. So I actually have to like give him a kudos and a modify. Episode 67. So what we do is we run this campaign for like $3 to $5, and it basically just puts your face, your brand colors, your content in front of thousands of people for like $2 to $3 per 1,000 people. And it basically warms up an audience that we run our other traffic to, which makes your other ads cheaper. And that to me is not part of the $15 a day. It's just something that I always have running.
And it sounds like the strategy behind showing people the mega post first, it's kind of like the same logic. It's not the same thing, but it's similar, like warming
Totally.
them up to you so that they convert better on the lead magnet.
100%.
Okay, cool. So just to recap that, you basically do a 3-to-1 ad spend ratio of people who you're sending directly to the lead magnet versus people you're sending to content first.
Correct.
And you're always retargeting the people you sent to content and using them to build the lookalike audience of who the lead magnet ads are shown to.
Correct.
Cool. Because I guess the idea is that if they liked this piece of content, they would also like the lead magnet. And thus it's cheaper to find out who likes the lead magnet by finding out who likes the content rather than only from who likes the lead magnet because they're more expensive.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
in a sense. I mean, it's not our only play, but for sure that is part of it.
Cool. This is dope. There was something I wanted. Circling back. So thinking about that 90-day plan, let's say we're budgeting $2,000.
Mhm.
When you're deciding on your daily budget on your 90-day plan, is it essentially just 90-day budget divided by 3? And it sounds like you recommend 2K, or what do you recommend for daily?
Potentially, but you want to have a $200 like front end budget, like Alex Hormozy calls it the tuition cost. Like you also have this front end budget of like I keep saying like collect data, collect data, collect data. Well, you don't want to collect data slowly. You want to collect data up front and get what's working. The easiest way to explain it is the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. Pretty much everyone's heard of it. No judgment if you haven't, but it's basically 80% of your results come from 20% of your work. Well, the same thing's going to be true with your ads, generally speaking. 80% of results come from 20% of the ads that you run. And so up front, we may front load 100, 200, maybe $300 dollars into identifying that 20%. Then we break up over the 90 days, the remaining budget into the top 20% of ads. Does that make sense?
It does. In
Okay.
your ideal world, if money's not an object, and I think this is important too, because like let's say somebody could easily allocate $10,000.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't think they should when they're starting. So in your ideal world for like a student of the boot camp, what do you tell them would be their, so that you got this $200 or $300 up front, what would their ideal daily budget be for their ads?
Yeah, don't spend more than $20 to $25 a day to build the list. You can do it faster, but it starts to get complicated as you scale. A lot of times the perception is that like, oh, well, if I spend $20 a day and I got 10 leads, if I spend $200 a day, I'll get 100 leads. And it's like, doesn't really work like that. There's a lot of nuances to increasing the budget and scaling and managing and, finding other audiences. So don't go any higher than $20 a day to get started. You can scale up from there. And in the bootcamp, I talk a little bit about like advanced scaling strategies, not like how to spend $1,000 a day, but like getting up to 50 to 100. But beyond that, I probably wouldn't, just because, again, it's about learning, right? And so when somebody says to me like, oh, I'll just spend $1,000 a week, right? Typically what my brain is hearing is I'd rather just pay and throw money at my problems. Right. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, what if your funnel's not working right? What if you add the product and it doesn't convert? And now you've spent $10,000 to build up the wrong audience. Right. So to me, it's really about, like I said earlier, like running the marathon, not the race. Right. Not
Yeah.
and I shouldn't say race because a marathon is a race, running the sprint versus a
Yeah.
marathon. Yeah.
So 20 to 25 as like an upper end. And what would you say for your average student is your kind of prescription blanket recommendation if they're not too skint?
$10 a day, $300 a month.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So I feel like this is like a good time to wind it down. I feel like I've gotten pretty much everything I was hoping to. I'm going to ask you a question I stole from you, which is, Zach,
Sure.
if you were 10 times braver than you were now, what would you do?
Love this question. It's a really good question. And you even told me you were going to ask me, and I've been sitting with it kind of thinking. And so for us, I think we would probably scale the membership. And it's kind of a cheat. I'm kind of cheating on this answer because I used this question when I was talking with a mentor of mine, but I think it's still a good answer. And that is that we would go all in on our membership. Like we would forget about the coaching, forget about these extra products that we had, other than the toolkit, because the challenge toolkit, because it's a really great revenue generator. But like we would get rid of our coaching program. We would stop doing these pop-up events and we would just go all in on scaling our membership. And we actually announced last week to our coaching program that we're not continuing it. We're going all in on the membership. So that was a tough one for me because you make great money from coaching, but we're going to go all in on our membership. So I'm cheating because I already answered this question, but I think the other thing I would just offer to people is like it's easy to like get caught up in what works or what works fast and um really full circle for this interview is like I was running a sprint, right? I'd be like, oh, what can we do to make $10,000 this month? What can we do to make $20,000 this month? What can we do tomorrow to get like 10 people into the coaching program? Instead of being like, what's the long-term vision? Like, where are we going? Because right now what we're doing is we're playing whack-a-mole. Like, we need money,
Yeah.
great, we'll do that. We want to generate this much for the launch, we'll do that. We want to scale up the membership, we'll set up this funnel, and then we'll go back to the coach, and we were being pulled a million different directions. And so if I was 10 times braver, which I'm feeling like in that place right now, we would really simplify the business and focus all in on the membership, which includes the boot camp. For those who are like, wait, can I not do the boot camp? The boot camp is the entry into our membership, so we consider that part of it. But yeah, that would be my cheater answer.
It's all right. It's a tough one to actually answer. I think I sat on this one when I heard you ask it rhetorically. I think I sat on it for like 2 days
Yeah,
because it's hard to it's hard to know what you're avoiding out of fear and what you're avoiding out of, I don't want to do it. But this is a great answer. And it's, it is you kind of following your own advice because your whole thing is like zoom out, look at your business holistically. What's the long game look like? And so identifying that whack-a-mole thing, that's great. So on this whole ads thing, and by the way, you, the listener, what would you do if you were 10 times braver? Stolen from Zach Spuckler. So Zach, on this ads thing, is there anything you want to add? Anything I should have asked? Anything you wish I asked before we go?
the biggest thing is like if you're gonna do it, just go for it. I think most people I talk to, and I've said this a few times in the interview, they ideate, they think, they think, they think, they think, they think. And you can't think your way out of problems. You action your way out of problems and you create solutions. You don't think solutions. And so if you're feeling like, hey, maybe ads would be a great fit for me, like obviously I'm biased. Our bootcamp is $25. Like spend the $25, come learn, come try it. And if you get, we actually have a 14-day no questions asked, not like a do the work, prove you did it, show up to the calls, nothing like that. Just like email us. It takes 5 days to go through. You get essentially 3 times that and be like, this is not for me. Great. We'll give you your $25 back. Because for me, that is an entry point in our business of like, it's about taking action, right? So if you follow along, whether you do it live or you do it on Evergreen, and if you buy at Evergreen, we'll invite you live later for a very low price. Like, just go for it. Um, the best thing you can do is focus on the next step in front of you. I was I was watching the Meg 2, horrible movie by the way, I highly recommend. And there's like these scenes where like it's just, it's like spiraling out of control. It's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the little girl in the movie says like, what are we going to do? And he goes, we just focus on the next step. And I think that was like such a terrible movie, but very profound statement. It's like, that's
Yeah.
all we can do. We can, and yes, zoom out. Yes, think big picture. Yes, all those things. But if you're like, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? If you find yourself in your head more than in your body, just focus on the next step. And if
Yeah.
it's Google how to run Facebook ads, watch a video and set them up, great. That is so empowering, but just focus on that next step.
Yeah, and I'll mirror that. I think I learned the concept not from the Meg 2, actually, on my end. From Brian Johnson from Heroic has this concept in there called what's important now. He abbreviates it as win. Same deal. Like I sometimes get mired in that analysis paralysis you're talking about when I think about my 1-year goals or 3-year goals. Like, how the hell am I ever going to get there? But you can rewind and say, okay, what's important now? Do I need to spend if I had to spend 10 hours this week on the thing that's going to move me forward the most, like what is that thing?
Yep.
And so to leave this with a nice little like tidbit on this ads thing, let's say someone's listening and they're kind of in the minimum viable budget thing. And they're like, I could budget $300 a month with this first month, maybe being 400 or 500. But I could budget the $300 a month and I could budget the 5 hours a week without you promising results. Cause obviously you're not going to do that. But like, what do you reckon the percentage of your students who by the time that 3 months is over, if they spend the 20 hours a week and they're spending the $300 a month, like what's the percentage of them that are in a place where they're like, okay, my CPM's good, my cost per lead's good, I could do this like profitably?
Yeah, I can confidently say the majority. Like I feel confident saying that. If you follow, and again, like I always say, legally, morally, ethically, I can't
Yeah.
guarantee anything's going to happen in your business. But if you follow along and you follow the steps, like the mass majority of people who actually do the work, who take the action, who focus on the win, who look at the next step, um, they get results. Like, because
Cool.
again, it's back to what I said earlier. It's like just publishing the ad puts you in the 20%,
Yeah.
and the 20% are the ones that win.
Awesome. Well, Zach, this was great. For the listener, if you go to the ads bootcamp .com, theadsbootcamp.com. That's his course for growing your email list consistently with ads, getting off the social media hamster wheel. Sounds like people going through it typically see a cost per lead of about $1 to $4. And he said in the pre-interview that usually if people are already running ads, they reduce their cost per lead by like 20 to 40%. And most people are generating like 100 new leads within 5 to 10 days.
Yep.
I don't know if the live one will still be going on when this airs. Zach, this is going to air, I think, in about like a week and a half. Will the live launch still be going?
The launch will be over, but we're doing it again live in January. So grab
Okay.
it, check it out, or just head over to my site, get on my email list, and you'll get an email when we do it live again in January.
Yeah. And for you, the listener, you don't need to go live. I didn't go live. I'm in the evergreen, although I might join the live one. So yeah, he's got the evergreen bootcamp, theadsbootcamp.com. Zach, this is awesome. I'm going to hit stop. Let's not disconnect. Classic thing I say in Riverside. But yeah, thank you so much. And see you. So I know I always say this, but what a great episode, eh? I feel like I should do the old South Park thing where I say this episode was my favorite episode. But yeah, great episode. Here are my favorite moments and top 3 takeaways from the interview. Takeaway number 1, paid ads are the way to get off the content creation hamster wheel. For me, anyway, it often feels indeed like a hamster wheel that every week I got to create a new newsletter, a new blog post, that kind of thing. Zach's approach with paid kind of relies on having a few strong pieces and a solid funnel, but using ads to be consistently building your list profitably. I really liked his approach because we talked about how organic is kind of risky and largely out of your control and takes time to build up. And, you know, a lot of businesses have closed overnight because they rely on organic and there's some sort of algorithm change and all their traffic stops. Whereas paid ads allow you to have predictability and control and a shorter timeline to pay off. Takeaway number 2, if you can budget 5 hours a week, 3 months total, and a minimum of about $1,000 total, you can have your ads figured out and getting you leads for $1 to $4 each. If you're just starting, you obviously don't know what your value per subscriber is on your email list, but if you get your value per subscriber to say $3 and you're paying $1 or $2 each, that means you essentially get to acquire a customer for less than they're paying. And in Zach's case, he's having his ads paid off within the first month. So he's paying money to get a lead onto his list. Some of those leads buy something, and the order total is paying off the cost of the ads within that first month. And that means anything this person ever buys in the future is just free money. So building a list of actual buyers versus just subscribers is hugely valuable, and ads are a way to do that. Something to think about if you're thinking of budgeting this 5 hours and $1,000 is that this initial investment, let's say you spend $1,000 over the next 3 months on ads, think of it not as something that needs to give you an ROI, but rather as tuition to the school of figuring out how ads work. And if you approach it that way, it's going to be a very good deal. Takeaway number 3, you actually don't need to have a lot of stuff before you start. At least for me, I've been kind of delaying starting to run ads for one of my projects because I feel like I don't have enough yet, and I don't know exactly how much I need before I can start. We talked about this, and in his mind, the minimum you need to start running ads and building your email list is basically just a lead magnet and an opt-in page. And with those 2 things in place, you can start growing your email list, and he has you send 1 email a week to build a relationship. And within a month or 2 or whatever, you can make your first offer to the list. And you can be selling that offer to actual humans since you have been building your list. You can find the transcript, highlights, and links from today's episode in the show notes at ftcreator.com/episode 8. And that's the number 8. If you enjoyed this episode, I would love if you could leave me a positive review. It means the world to me, helps me know I'm creating good stuff, and I really appreciate you being here. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.